welcome to Witchy Meditations. If you've not watched my videos before, you may be wondering what this YouTube channel is all about. I am a practicing white witch, and I do have a video on my YouTube channel which talks a little bit more about that and the kinds of things that I do. I am interested in meditation, I'm interested in mindfulness, also astrology as well. I'm also very interested in the Akashic records as well, and that's something that I'm delving into a little bit more deeply at the moment. But most of all, this YouTube channel is my way of trying to help other people tap into their own personal truths and to find ways to live life in a more meaningful way, really. So it is about spirituality, it is about finding space to connect with the world around us, but also connect with the higher part of ourselves as well. So the content that I share on my YouTube channel is really all about that. It's about finding ways to step into our own truths and to find space to connect with the world and indeed the universe also. So that's really what Witchy Meditations is all about. And here on my YouTube channel you will find affirmations, you'll find meditations, you will find subjects that I think are useful to help us find those truths within ourselves. So that's what Witchy Meditations is all about, and it's evolving as it goes. So as I find out more things about myself and more things that are helping me to do that, I look to share that knowledge with anyone who is interested and wants to find out more. So with that being said, let's dive into the topic that I want to talk about today. And that is, when thinking about the people that we are, when thinking about our own personalities, do we each have those aspects of ourselves that we deem to be more positive and those aspects of ourselves that we deem to be more negative? And what I mean by that is there may be aspects of ourselves that we really like, and I'm talking about our personalities here. And there may be aspects of our personalities that we don't feel quite so comfortable with, that perhaps we maybe even try to disown in some way. And I think certainly for myself that is the case. So there are parts of my personality, and as time goes on I'm able to see how that kind of resonates with aspects of my birth chart as well. So when thinking about my particular birth chart, in astrological terms, that's what I'm talking about here. I do have Pisces in my birth chart, and in fact my ascendant is Pisces, and I also have an Aquarius moon, and the degrees of that is 8 degrees, so it's a relatively pure form of that, if you like. My sun sign is Sagittarius. In terms of the degrees, it's actually at 25 degrees, so from that perspective it's, if you like, a less pure form of Sagittarius sun. And interestingly, as I've discovered more about astrology and more about my own particular birth chart, it is that those kind of watery, or the watery element of Pisces and the Aquarius moon that I feel more connected with, more, if you like, excited about. And although Aquarius is the water bearer, it is in fact an air sign and not a water sign. But it's the Aquarius and the Pisces aspects of my birth chart that, as I say, I'm more excited about. I do like to tap into kind of that dreamy, weird sort of way of existing and way of being. And I think as a younger person, although I did feel quite strongly actually that I didn't really fit in, I didn't necessarily connect with that many people, I didn't find that many people that I felt were like me. At that time I probably more rejected the weirder parts of myself and strived really hard to fit in, to blend, if you like. But now that I'm older, it's actually the weirder parts of myself that I feel kind of most proud of and most excited about. I don't really want to fit in. That's something that I feel more comfortable with. Although that being said, sometimes there is a resistance there, and I think that really does kind of come down to my Chiron return, which I've spoken about on my YouTube channel before, and I will place a link to that video as well if that's something that you're interested in finding out more about. But in my particular case, my Chiron wound, which I've spoken about before, relates to my identity. And again, as I've spoken about before, this is my 50th year on planet Earth, so my Chiron is returning. In fact, Chiron is it is in Aries, and that's that is my Chiron wound. It's to do with my identity. So it's very interesting that I have this kind of push and pull between embracing my inner weirdness and also rejecting my inner weirdness. But in recent times, I'm finding myself feeling less comfortable with the fiery kind of sides of my birth chart, or the fiery sides of my personality. I do have a lot of Sagittarius in my chart, and I am someone that can be quite fiery. There are things that I'm very passionate about. There's things that I really care about. So examples of those would be things to do with human rights, things to do with planet Earth in terms of the environment and protecting the environment. These are things that I really care about and become, I can be very passionate about those things. And the way that sometimes plays out in the domestic sphere of my life, that I can get quite put out and quite annoyed if other people in the household are not following those principles that I hold so closely to my heart. Really, it does annoy me, really, I suppose, if somebody puts the wrong item in the wrong bin. So if somebody puts something that could be recycled into the non-recycling bin, for example. But not just there. There are other things that happen within the domestic sphere that I can get quite put out about, I suppose, especially if it's to do with kind of keeping things clean. If I don't know, somebody puts a muddy boot onto the carpet or something, I feel quite put out about that as well. But that doesn't really relate to helping the planet or humanitarian causes. It just means that I need to clean that up if for some reason they don't. And interestingly, perhaps there may be a part of me I feel particularly put out if another household member comes along and places a muddy boot on the carpet, because then I think, well, that really needs cleaning up, and it needs cleaning up now. So there may be a part of me that feels put out that I have less time to focus on helping humanity or helping the planet, or indeed trying to help other people through my YouTube channel. By focusing on this domestic stuff that's also really important, then I have less time for the other stuff. So I think as I'm talking about this now, that may also be another factor, because I'm going to feel annoyed that this needs doing, and it needs doing now. This is really important, but there's all this other stuff that's really important as well. So I'm not getting time to do both in the way that I would like to. And before I carry on with this video, I should say that usually when I create a YouTube video, I do write a script of sorts beforehand, which, to varying degrees I'd sort of stick to. So I may go off script a little bit, and I may talk a bit more on a subject, so I may kind of go off piste, so to speak, or I may just expand on something that I'm saying. But in this case, I don't actually have a script, so I'm completely unscripted, and I'm just talking as the words come into my head. So because of the way that my kind of dialogue, the paths that my dialogue kind of follows, I may have several trains of thought happening simultaneously. So I know sometimes when I speak to other people, I think they may find it difficult to follow the thread of what I'm saying, which is why it can be helpful here on YouTube to have a script that I'm following, so that it's easier for people watching and listening to follow the thread of what I'm saying. But that being said, the reason that I'm doing it in this way is because I want to speak more in the way that I do speak, and the way that I would naturally share my words with the world or whoever I'm talking to at the time. I want to actually do that, and I kind of want to make it more authentic. And that's not to say that previous YouTube videos have not been authentic. Of course they have been, but they have been more controlled, if you like. So they've been authentic. It's still been things that I've wanted to say, but it's been more structured. So what I wanted to do with this video is make it more unstructured and let those words be driven by the passion that I have and by the interest that I have, and share those words with anybody watching or interacting with my YouTube channel. So do you have aspects of your personality, either just things that you're just generally aware of through self-knowing, or perhaps through interacting with things like your birth chart? By being aware of your birth chart, you found things out, you think, oh yes, that does make sense, I do resonate with that, that's so interesting that I've discovered this aspect of myself. So through this self-knowing, however it comes to be, are there parts of your personality that you feel less comfortable with, that you seek to reject in some way? And have you given thought to why that might be? So when I'm talking about things that we're not comfortable with, or if you like, the darker parts of our personality, or what we perceive to be the darker parts of our personality, I'm not talking here about anything particularly bleak or anything particularly dark and terrible, but just those parts of ourselves that sits more awkwardly with the way that we feel about ourselves. And obviously for my part, I've talked about that kind of weirder side of my personality, which, as I say, certainly growing up I did feel resistant to that, and certainly less so now. So, but that being said, at different points in time I kind of completely embrace it, and at other points in time it also sits awkward with me. I feel uncomfortable with my weirdness, with my strangeness, if you like. But as I say, more recently, it tends to be that fire that I feel uncomfortable with. But it does really depend on how that fire plays out. So if it is something where the fire kind of comes in because it's something that I feel really passionate about, I like to feel passionate about particular things. I like to feel like I'm making a difference in the world. I do feel like I want to make the world a better place. And perhaps because of the aspects of Sagittarius that I have in my birth chart, largely speaking, I tend to believe that I can make a difference in the world. Perhaps more so as a younger person, where I really was profoundly idealistic, and perhaps a little, over time we can become a little bit jaded, where we see more and more things perhaps that happen in the world that are upsetting and that are very, very difficult, and I'm talking here about the wider world and all the different things that happen that are so bleak and so terrible, that kind of knowledge can impact on that the idealisms that we may have, where we think, oh, actually, I really can make a difference. That being said, I am still quite idealistic, really. But when that fire plays out more in the domestic sphere, where I do feel put out if other people have different perspectives than me, and especially when it does tap into those kind of world things as I see them. So if as a household I don't feel as if we are being ethical enough, I want to make a difference in that way, if I feel that other people in the household are kind of on board with me with that, it does it does put me out. And that awareness of that is something that I certainly struggle with. So is this something that people watching and listening resonate with? Is this something that you're aware of and you think, well, why do I react like that to this particular thing? Why does this affect me in this way? What's the reason for it? And it could be lots of different things. It could be our upbringing, it could be those people that we've interacted with throughout our lives, it could relate to our birth charts, it could relate to many, many different things. But how can we use those, if you like, more negative, what we perceive to be more negative parts of our personality, how can we use, if you like, those darker aspects to help us grow as human beings? How can we use those things to live life in a more authentic but also joyful way? And I think for my part, having that awareness that I do take it to heart really when other people are not banging the same drum as me, when other people are perhaps not caring about the planet in the way that I care about the planet, or the way that I think one should care about the planet. How can I use that knowledge to perhaps be a little bit more considerate to other people's perspective? And that's not to say that if one of my household members goes and puts a load of, I don't know, things that could be recycled in the normal bin, that's not to say that I won't take some gentle action on that, and say, well, actually this, that's the wrong bin, you need to put it in this one so that we can recycle it, or actually we are we're using refillables, if I can get my words out, we are using refillable shower gel, we're using refillable shampoo, we're going off to the zero waste shop to do that, and we're not buying lots and lots of new plastic bottles, perhaps to be more gentle in my approach, because in many ways I am gentle because I do care, and I describe myself as an empath. I think that I am an empath. I feel other people's feelings very deeply. I want everybody to lead as a happier life as they possibly can. I want that for all humanity. So it's finding ways to allow that empathy to kind of play out, if you like, in the domestic sphere. So when people are not on board with my perspectives of how I think things should be done, is to have an understanding of that people do have different ways of doing things, and even if it does seem in complete opposition to the way that you do things or that I do things, to find a more empathetic approach to that. So that's kind of a way that I can use, if you like, that knowledge that I am someone who is very impassioned about certain things, but to use that knowledge in a positive way, if that makes sense. And additionally, I've talked about the practice of mindfulness or conscious awareness on my YouTube channel before. Another thing that is useful for me, and I'm sure it's useful for many people, is to to further practice that and to actually practice it in those times of conflict, where conflict comes up in the household or maybe in the workplace or really any sphere of our daily lives where that conflict takes place. I can perhaps use conscious awareness or the practice of mindfulness to approach things from a calmer viewpoint. So yes, I have the passion. Yes, I have those fiery aspects of my personality, which does really kind of add a flame to the things that I care about. So my Aquarius moon, where I really do want to make a difference in the world, it's important to me. And if you like, those Sagittarian, the fire of my Sagittarian aspects are perhaps further adding passion to that, or at least that's how I see it anyway. But I can use, if you like, my more Pisces side, my personality, so the watery aspects of myself, and also my empathy as well, to carve space to recognize other people's viewpoints and to find a way to be calmer in situations of conflict and actually find a solution to the opposing viewpoints that are happening in that situation of conflict, to find a calmer, practical solution to it all, rather than perhaps using the fire in a more negative way, in a more destructive way, using that fire in a more constructive way, really, I suppose. So bringing all those aspects in, using empathy, using conscious awareness, but also using the fire in a way to find a solution, rather than using, I guess, stepping into that egoic perspective. And by egoic, I mean the ego of wanting to be right, which is always a difficult thing, where we want to be right, where we want to win. There is never really an amicable solution to that. There's never really a constructive solution to that. There's only really a constructive solution where we step out of the egoic mind, or we step out of our ego, and we find a way to construct a positive solution. So hopefully some of the things that I've said here in this video will resonate with you, and hopefully you've been able to utilize some of the wisdom that I am sharing, or what I hope you will agree is wisdom that I am sharing, and hopefully you can carve out space in your own daily life to be calmer, to use the fire that you may also have within you in a constructive way rather than a destructive way, but also find time to be calm and peaceful, and additionally to step out of the ego mind and to use whatever empathy that you may have within you to see different viewpoints. And that's not to say that we don't have boundaries. That's not to say that we always are the people that backs down, or that we're always the people that go with the flow and allow perhaps a situation where we end up doing something that we really don't want to do, or something that really kind of goes against the very foundations that we are as people. But it's finding balance between amicable solutions and also making sure that we also protect our own boundaries as well. So I have rambled on now for 25 minutes, so my recording software is telling me, so I've been talking for quite a long time, and as I said somewhere partway through the video, this is not scripted, so I'm not reading from a script. I've not actually even made any notes at all upon this video when normally I do, and I wanted it to be unstructured. I wanted it to be me really talking from the heart and just kind of finding out where that kind of takes us and what that direction ends up looking like. So I wanted to share my words in this way. So hopefully you've been able to follow the many threads that I'm sharing, and hopefully you've found your way through it, and hopefully also you've made it to the end of the video as well and not stopped partway through wondering what on earth I'm talking about. So thank you so much for being here. If you've made it to the end of the video, thank you, well done. And yes, thank you so much. So if you found the content that I've shared in this video useful, interesting, if you resonated with any part of it, small or large, please do like, share, subscribe. And I know that if, like me, you engage with lots of content on YouTube, I know that every single YouTuber, regardless of what subject they're talking about or what arena their channel, if you like, exists in, so whatever YouTube kind of classifies the person's YouTube channel as, every single YouTuber asks for people to like, subscribe, share. It almost is, it almost kind of becomes like a mantra, and I suspect if, like me, you maybe even get fed up of hearing it. So, there's another person on YouTube asking me to like, subscribe and share, but actually it really does make a difference. By liking this video, it does mean that more people will find this video, and by subscribing to my channel, same thing. By sharing, obviously, of course, it goes without saying, if you share Witchy Meditations, if you share this video itself, more people will find this content, and hopefully in so doing, together we will find a way to live our lives with a greater sense of truth, with a greater sense of self-knowing, and also with a greater ability to use those parts of ourselves that we may see as being more negative in a way that actually does create a positive outcome. So thank you so much for watching, and I will share another video with you really soon. Bye for now.